not enough to kind of hem anyone in. So there's still a freedom to it, but there was at least some structure to follow because of the rhythm of it, and we were listening to each other.
They were long shots too, right? I mean, they were long, really, tight
really
takes.
Long, yeah. So, and it was pages and pages of dialogue.
I remember that because there was actually times where I was like, is this still the same shot? And it was the same shot. Like they'd go on for a while.
I'm so disenchanted by your experience watching this movie.
No, it was...
People usually enjoy that.
I was engaged. In the way that I was engaged, I watched.
Charlie been on your show or not? You need to talk to him.
I talked to him. Yeah, but he had to come with somebody else. He came with the director of Anomalisa, and he wouldn't do it on his own. And I got about 45 minutes with him, and it was great. I had a good time with him, but I'm sure he felt that there was a.
I have found that I have a friend who's an artist, and she did one of those TED Talks, and breaking it down and having to explain her work was really upsetting to her. So, and I can understand that. And I think that's how Charlie feels. Like, he does what he does. He doesn't want to determine how people respond. He doesn't want to give them ideas of what it is so that they have their own reaction and idea about what it is.
I get that. And I understand that he made, when he's left to his own devices and he writes and directs the films, that you're dealing with something, that is fundamentally an experimental movie. Really, I mean, he's very meticulous and he's very decisive, but the way things
very open to ideas. He is very collaborative. I had heard him very specific, which he is. I mean, he's creating a world. Someone has to be clear about it. Someone has to be at the helm of the ship. But he is very like. There's one line I did see it in the trailer. I'm going to paraphrase that I say. I should know it. Where I say, "Oh, Jake would lose his head if it wasn't screwed onto his own head." I fucked that up. That was the wrong line. And he got so excited by it. It was like, leave that in, right? So he's really open to those really great accidents.
Look, I don't want you to misunderstand. I'm aggravated because I think he's challenging. And that's the best compliment I can give somebody who is creating something. Like there are certain things, like I get mad because I want to understand and he's defying me to understand something that is fairly incomprehensible because of everything he's laid out there. There's no way you can put that together and be like, I get it. I see what's going on here, because it's just no fucking way. But all right, that aside.
I'm only sitting here not saying anything because I know what the story is, but actually I also can't talk about it because it gives it away. But you're saying there's no one to give it away to, or we need to give it away because no one understands it. So
no, I mean, but even if you were to tell me the story, I guess the reason I'm trying to get it out of you because I'm not even sure what the story is. I mean, I know those two people went over. I know the car ride, and I know the guy in the truck. I get all that. What the relationship between the guy in the truck and the couple that came over, because like there is a time issue, and I know that time is not really that important to him, and that time is sort of nebulous and fluid and doesn't necessarily mean years, and I get that. But I'm still not sure. Like, is this in a head? Is it not in a head?
Am I allowed to tell you what I know, and then if you're not allowed to play it, somehow you delete it? Because I feel like I need to just tell you. Oh, you're saying yes, but I don't know if I can trust you.
No, we're not out to sandbag anybody.
I'll tell you later.
Yeah, we can do it after. Yeah. And then maybe I'll feel better. All right, so then like these moments that you're talking about where you play the truth of the moment, but sometimes you don't know. Like, for instance, I watched most of Hereditary. Now, no, it was just because I was trying to catch up. It was because like I want to have a full head of you, going into you with the talk.
That's cool. That's nice of you.
Well, yeah, because I have memories of you, I just wanted to see, because you've done so much over the years. But for instance, that like I guess what resonates with me, because I have been in some grief lately, is like in that grief meeting. Yeah. Was that a moment where you were playing the truth and the truth has sort of got away from you into something else? There was
a lot of it in that movie, I have to say. I think there really was. It's very bizarre, but in reading that script, it was just immediate knowledge of what it needed. And although not knowing how I would climb the ladder, I knew I would get there. There's some weird knowledge that it's just an understanding, and I can't help but do it. If I tried not to do that, I'd just couldn't be able to stand myself. I knew I had to do it because I could feel it so intensely. And this is going back to kind of Charlie's idea of things, like some things I'm not articulate about, but there is such a strong pull and such a strong kind of understanding that, I'm not technical. I don't, go and, there's a certain amount of work that you do. You have to learn the lines. But really it's just aligning myself as closely as possible with a sense of whatever the character's going through. And it did kind of frighten me that in Hereditary I really just understood so much of it.
Yeah, because it was so dark and like was there something at risk for you mentally?
Oh no, I don't think so. I've never felt like
you always thought you were going to get out.
Yeah, I never feel like I'm going to go to the other side and never come out. I'm not that. I don't like. I always have a sense of myself, but I'm happy within that kind of between action and cut, happy to just let go. There's no other way to put it. I don't know how to say it, but don't you find there's a real ease and a flow to things when it's written well? When it's not written well, you can't remember it. It feels all rigid and you have to work hard to make it work. The good ones, there's just a flow. I can look at it and that's it.
Yeah, I think that's true. I don't have extensive experience acting, and usually I don't do things that aren't something I can do. Like I'm yet to be in a project where I'm like, I'm going to really challenge myself with this and be this completely other person. Like most of what I've done just requires me to sort of add or take things out of my own personality.
Don't you think most actors do that?
I guess so.
They just hide behind the character, but actually it's everyone. It's all every character is me. They're all everything. So,
yeah. Yeah, see, well, that's sort of the Charlie Kaufman idea. We are all everything, and it just kind of bleeds into everything else. I know.
Mind bending.
But when did this start? But I mean, over the years, it seems that you've gotten, like, it really seems that your particular talent, although from early on, the emotions were coming through, but like you can really sort of, it seems that you've grown in terms of the risks you're willing to take emotionally and character wise, and also just, weirdness wise. Like,
don't you think existing is weird? So why couldn't everything is weird?
Yeah, I know.
I think potentially I think anyone's work is going to become more interesting the more they know themselves. Right? Because there's more to use because you're dealing with knowledge. You're not just freewheeling and just kind of guessing.
Do you have that's interesting. Because like recently, I've been noticing that my thoughts are coming together in a way that I find surprising.
I just want to say, Marc, I met Lynn several times and hung out with her, and I'm so sorry. It was just so shocking, and I am very, very sorry for you and all of her friends. I met with her when I was working with Megan on Lucky Them.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So I can't imagine. Well, the thing is, I can imagine what you're going through, and you will be surprising yourself, right?
Right. Yeah. It's been brutal, really.
Yeah.
But
and it's a changing thing. It'll just keep changing. It doesn't go away.
You've dealt with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
it's part of life. It sucks, man.
It is part of life. That's the weirdest thing about it is that, in framing grief or in framing tragedy, you realize that, there's nothing unusual about it. There's better ways for it to happen. There's better timing for it. It's probably better when it's expected, but, there's no way around it. And it's just, but there's nothing unique about it other than the tragedy of her losing her life, but also just, having to deal with that, whatever leads up to that. But it is fundamentally a human thing. But it's been terrible. When I talk to people about it, it brings up the feelings, but you got to go through the feelings.
Yeah, you can't shun it. That's the thing. You can't go around it. You got to go through it.
Right. But this is the thing is like, I'm telling you, is like there are different stages in your life in terms of what you're saying, where I think you have these chunks of life where you think you have things together and you're doing a certain type of work. And then either something happens that's tangible or it's not. And you're a different person because you've come through something.
I totally agree. And actually the shittiest moments are the most beneficial in terms of growth and understanding, I think.
Like when you started, like you grew up in Sydney?
I grew up in Sydney, yeah.
And are your folks still around?
They are, yep.
Oh, that's great. What kind of what'd your parents do?
My dad, well, they had several different businesses. Sometimes when I was younger, my dad, he was just saying the other day he had 4 jobs at once. But it's generally, they're both uneducated and they are delightful people and they are the salt of the earth and they have worked so bloody hard to give their 3 kids good lives. My dad predominantly was a truck driver and mum kind of was mum a lot of the time and then had some other, odd jobs.
How many siblings?
I've got 2 younger brothers. Yeah, I'm the eldest.
Oh, really? So how do you sort of pull away and become this person that, decides to do what you do? When did that happen?
I think I kind of realized I could sing as a teenager. And
I listened to some of your records.
You did not. Oh, my God.
I did.
Okay, so moving on. I was 13 in year 7, first year of high school, and I was unaware of how things worked, and they were doing Pippin at school. I went to a girls' school. There was a hall and a line down the middle and then a boys' school on the other side. And they'd cast it and it was ready and it was going into rehearsal and I found out about it and I was so desperate to be a part of it and I missed the boat. I went to every performance. I loved it. I was hooked. And then the following year I kind of got in there early and auditioned for Godspell and I had this like life-changing experience. But I think during that time, my grandmother died. And so I think I did for a long time use acting as a way of expressing myself because I didn't know how to do that. I didn't know how to contact all of those things inside myself. So it was almost like a clean way of experiencing things where it wasn't me, but I was using myself. So it felt somewhat therapeutic.
Oh, and you were conscious of that? How come, why do you think
I wasn't. I think I only realized much, much later that that's what I had been doing. Yeah.
Were you just shut down? Was it just like where your family, was you not an emotional bunch in general or?
Emotional, but not great communicators. I think we're all getting better as life goes on.
Yeah. So in a sense, the performative element helped you communicate all the things that you couldn't say as yourself.
Yep, absolutely. And connect with myself. I've literally learnt from every character that I've played because it has made me look at different ways of living.
You're the first person I've asked that to so many actors. Like I've asked them if, what they learn from their characters. And no one has really given me a definitive answer. I think for some reason, a lot of people, I think that I've asked don't really, make that connection. But you did because it seemed to be what compelled you initially was your ability to move through other people's emotions.
Yep. I think, I wouldn't have admitted this years ago because I would have been mortified. Like it's embarrassing to admit that. I would have felt that. I don't care now, but then I think because I didn't feel like I could do it on my own as me, I felt like if someone were to find out, I would be exposed somehow, right? So I was really worried about that. But now I couldn't give a shit.
Yeah.
It's really very weird, but I feel like a different human. I know people change through life, but I feel like if I look back on the past, it really does feel like somebody else. It's strange. Do you have that experience? I don't know how many people feel like
that you were somebody else, that it was somebody else's life, or that you're a different person.
I think it's my life, but I feel so very different to that person.
Well, I think I had profound problems in an earlier manifestation.
It takes time to get to know yourself and figure stuff out.
Yeah, I pushed the envelope a little bit, Yes. Didn't you?
Yeah. Maybe not as far as you.
I don't know if that's true. Why would you say that? What do you think?
You talk. One thing I appreciate you is that about you. You are so yourself. I am an empath, and I can feel when someone's skirting around, and you are just you. And it's when you speak to someone who's comfortable in themselves, it's actually makes me feel comfortable. You don't have to do the work of what are they trying to do, what are they actually trying to say, what are they hiding, what are they, all of that stuff. Yeah. It's so exhausting. So if I meet someone who's actually taken the responsibility, knows themselves, has gotten to a point where they're just frank about who they are, I love it. I am so inspired by that.
Well, I mean, but I'm only like that when I talk to people like you. I'm only like that when I talk to people like, that, I've decided to talk to people.
You're in the right job.